at a level 1 and going up against a level 72 Chad in Escape from Tarkov is probably one of the most unfair things in a video game to date. And this is how Tarkov is designed to its core, and it's meant to be like this. But let me tell you why this is a bad thing. And let me start by telling you why this video idea came to my mind in the first place. This all started rolling back a couple of weeks ago when the Escape from Tarkov wipe was looking like it was about to happen. The pre-wipe events were going on, and then it didn't. And we were just kind of left in limbo where there was some events happening and there wasn't some events happening. And then eventually we got some word what was going on, and we did get a patch, but it wasn't a wipe. So we don't know when it's going to happen. So then I was like, hey, I'm extremely bored right now. Why don't I reset my account now and try to go through the whole new player thing starting from level 1 again now while people are high levels, and use some of my experience of playing the game for a long period of time to kind of like have a little bit of fun and a bit of a challenge. So I wiped my account and then played for a little while, and may I just say it was the worst mistake ever made. Now, let me just stress, I'm not a bad player by any stretch of the imagination. I've been playing Escape from Tarkov now for around about 4 years, and just to give you some stats and figures on the wipe that's just recently happened, out of like 500 raids I think I played, I have about a 40% survival rate. What's not bad, it's not amazing, I'm not one of the best players, I can tell you that, but it's pretty decent. And with my content creation on the side as well, I have lots of experience when it comes to how to make money, when to and when not to take fights, all of the extract locations, best ways to get there. The last time I played this lower level towards the end of a wipe would have been around about 4 years ago when I first started playing. I remember picking up Escape from Tarkov about a week before the game was about to wipe, and I remember finding it incredibly hard. But again, I was a brand new player to the game, starting at a severe disadvantage to the people who've been playing for the entire wipe so far. So I understood that at the time, but I assumed with the experience I had today that I would be able to find it a little bit easier than that. But I was wrong. I don't understand how I didn't realize how much of a disadvantage you are when you literally start off with the basic stuff and everybody's running tier 5 and best in slot weapons and ammo. It's a massive difference. So I've played between about 20 to 30 raids so far on this account. What's not a massive amount, but it's enough to kind of get a general idea. And my survival rate is 10%. That is 1/4 of my original survival rate before I decided to wipe my account. And again, I reiterate, this is with all the experience that I have, and I'm, I'd like to say, a half-decent player of the game, and I'm struggling this bad, borderline to the point where I don't want to play anymore. And this is where we come into the problem, now that I start to think about it and start to put myself in the shoes of those brand new players who are picking up the game and deciding to go and play Escape from Tarkov right before the wipe's about to happen. And if I was them, I wouldn't play. Because when it comes to any video game, we always like to feel like we're progressing, whether we get a couple of hours a day or we can play up to 5 to 6 hours a day. We always like to seem like we're progressing. But the thing is, when you're this much of a disadvantage and you die this often, you're literally making zero progress. So it really just makes these new players not want to play the game as soon as they get it, and realistically means they can only have a fair advantage when the wipe actually happens. And again, this is a problem because it means that Escape from Tarkov can really only sell copies of the game and get people hooked and invested into the game within the first month or 2 of the wipe. This only gives them a 2-month window within 6 months to really sell the game. And this is a company that needs to make money to continue funding the project to make the game a bigger and bigger game. And if you total that up between the year, because we have about 2 wipes a year, that's only 4 months realistically where new players can really invest themselves into the game and get hooked in it to the point where they're surviving enough to have fun. Because I know Nikita likes to laugh, ha ha ha, Tarkov's not supposed to be a fun game. It's a game, people play it, they want to have fun. If they don't have fun, they won't play the game. Now, I've been speaking a lot to some of the people in my chat and also just kind of going over some ideas in my head of some ways they could possibly fix this. Some of these things you may have heard of before, some of them that you may not. But the first thing I wanted to go over was the most obvious one, and that is a Tarkov prestige system. So again, this works similar to how you would originally play like Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 and all the old CODs back in the day, where you reach the level cap, you have everything unlocked, all the guns, attachments, everything you really need. You press prestige, you go back to level 1 1 again and you get something cool like, I don't know, a cosmetic, or, you know, that only someone who can prestige can get, something just nothing to incentivize people to want to do that, and you go back to level 1 again and you rinse and repeat and do the same thing again. This would entail big part of the player base, so there's really good players who get to a high level really quickly, want to get these items, like for instance the killer tracksuit. So once you kill him 100 times you get a really cool cosmetic, and it's a stupidly hard quest to do, but people go out of their way just to do it because they just want to look cool. I mean, it's just a cool cosmetic. So having something with a prestige system to incentivize those really good players, prestige their accounts, go back to being at a disadvantage with the low-end gear, and then progress their way back up again and maybe rinse and repeat and do the same thing again. This again would allow there to be a lot of low-level kits floating around even in the later part of the wipe. So giving some of those new players who are getting in on the later part of the wipe, again, a more fair advantage when they're going up against people with the same kits as them. Now, this could also be a problem as well, where you run into the same issue I'm having right now, where you spent all that time leveling up and getting all that gear, and then you reset and you go back to a low level. It becomes harder for you, and then you become disinterested in the game and then stop playing. So you get a lot of those late level people who usually keep the player base fresh-ish towards the end of the wipe disappearing as well. So you kind of have like your give and take. It could be a bad thing, but without having to actually implement this and getting data from it, you wouldn't know what the actual long-term effects of this would be. The next thing would actually be separate wipe servers. So for instance, you could have 2 different sets of PMCs or 2 different servers that you plan, where this is similar to Rust, where you have like a week wipe or a month wipe, where in the case with Tarkov, you could have every 3 months or every 6 months, and there'd be 2 separate PMCs or 2 separate servers you can play on where the wipes are different. So for instance, if you're a new player and you want to pick the game up in the later part of the wipe, you could play on the 3-month server, and you're more likely to run into people with lower end gear than you are on the 6-month one, where people have been playing for a longer period of time. You could do that. And we're going to have some problems with this where you're splitting the player base up, because as we know, towards the later part of the wipe and escape from Tarkov, the servers are pretty much dead. It's hard to get full lobbies. So if you did this, you're kind of splitting the player base in half, what would then cause more problems. So if there was a bigger player base, then this would work very perfectly. But with the current player base at the moment, it wouldn't work that well. But who knows, if they did this again with more data, you could retain more of those people who come back at the beginning part of the wipe with this wipe system, and they would have the player base to be able to do that. But again, you would have to have the data to be able to realize whether this was possible or not. Another idea that I came up with was a little bit similar to the first one that I said, but it's not. It's a challenge system for low-end gear. So essentially what I mean is that you would have challenges towards the end of the game, whether it be tasks or some kind of cosmetic unlock quests again as well, where you're incentivized to use the low-end kits instead of running the high-end stuff all the time. So you could have, again, like a cosmetic look, whether it be a tracksuit or a skin for your gun. Maybe you have a golden version of it. I don't know, something that doesn't actually affect the raw gameplay itself, where you would have to complete challenges by using these low-end kits, again, filtering more of these low-budget kits into the later part of the game instead of running around with the best stuff all the time. So this wouldn't split the player base up, and you would again would have more of those lower level kits running around the place, again giving more of an advantage to those people who are just starting out in the game. I think this one has the least amount of drawbacks for the last 2 that I said. So I think maybe if I was going to suggest something to be implemented into the game, this could be a good step forward, but I don't know if it would be enough, because I don't know if enough players would even bother to do it in the first place. So it could be just a throwaway one. Again, you'd need more data to find out whether this would work or not. I really want to know what your guys' opinion of this in the comment section below. We really need to help some of these new players stay interested in the game longer term towards the end stage of the wipe, because all that's going to do is increase the player base, meaning towards those last couple of months of the wipe, there's not going to be these absolutely dead servers, because the player base will be larger and there'll be more longevity. And again, that's what I feel like a lot of people in Escape from Tarkov need at the moment. So please let me know in the comment section below. And again, I hope you guys have a fantastic day. And if you're looking for another video, I recently did a 1v1 challenge against my chat, and if they won, they get to shave off a part of my eyebrow. I think you guys would really enjoy that, so check this video out here.